What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to have a look at the FAQ for Starter Deck 13. Starter Deck 13 is out now, and that is good, because Starter Deck 13 genuinely does look absolutely brilliant. But of course, when we have a whole bunch of new cards, then we need to have a whole bunch of new rulings. We need to know how the cards that have just come out work. We need to know, essentially, what the deal is. So let's have a look at the deal. Let's have a look at Starter Deck 13 and all the ruling queries that have been officially made over on the Japanese website. So starting off then, as we usually do with the leaders, we have of course got the leader Sabo. And leader Sabo has got Don X1 activate main once during your turn. You can put a character with a cost of 3 or more and a power of 7,000 power or more, and put them on top of your life face up, and then one of your characters gets 2,000 power until the start of your next turn. Okay, well if my original character's power is 6,000 or less, but now its power is 7,000 or more due to Don, etc., can I add it to my life using this main effect? Yes, you can. This is quite a big deal, of course, because this is something that is going to come in. This is going to be relevant. You want to try and make sure that you are getting, the character you want on top of your life. But of course, characters do get built up with Don, etc. over time. So, yeah, you have to get it up there. You have to make sure it gets up to 7,000 power. But as long as you do, you can put it up there. It doesn't need to be naturally 7,000 power. As long as you get it up there, you will be fine. Now, another leader we've got is Porcus the Ace. That is the Don X2 activate main once per turn. You can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, find a 5-cost character, put it on top of your life, and then at the end of your turn, it gets, all of your face-up cards get trashed. Your face-up life get trashed. So you can kind of stash a character on top of your life, but then it doesn't stay there for too long. Will face-up cards that end up in my life by something other than Ace's skill, will they be trashed at the end of your turn? Yeah, this is a fairly classic kind of read the card situation, which is to say, look, it says your face-up life are trashed at the end of your turn. That means all of them. Now, the other leader that we get here is Monkey D. Luffy. And what we've got here is, according to the rules, your face-up life is placed to the bottom of your deck instead of being added to your hand, which is honestly not ideal, but it's got a great skill. We've got Don X2, activate main once per turn. You may trash a card from your hand, and then if your life is 0, then you get to take 2 exactly 5-cost characters from your trash or your hand and put them on top of your life face up, which is clearly brilliant. And we've had one big question since this card got revealed, and that is, do triggers activate? I told you that this would most definitely be in the FAQ. We now have actual confirmation. No, it doesn't. And I told you this was likely to be the case. When I first showed you this card, I did a video, I told you it was a big deal. I told you I'd spoken to a bunch of judges, read the rulebook, etc. And this is what we all expected. Essentially, trigger activates when the card would go to your hand. Instead of going to your hand, it triggers. Well, it never goes to your hand here. It goes to the bottom of your deck instead, and that means that trigger never gets a chance to activate. This is a ruling we were expecting. This is what we thought was going to happen, and like I say, I spoke to a bunch of judges before I made the last video when we talked about this. I wanted to make sure I was as well informed as I possibly could be. But the reality of the situation is, this is what we always expected, and this is the way it has now gone and been ruled. This is an extremely important ruling, assuming, of course, this Luffy sees any play. They do not activate trigger, they just go straight to the bottom of your deck. There we go. Now, there is an awkward ruling to be made with Makino here, because Makino says that on play, you add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, and then you can basically rearrange your life and put them in any order you like. Well, remember that with Luffy, you don't add life to your hand. Instead of adding them to your hand, they go to the bottom of your deck. So what actually happens? Well, in this case, you do get to place 1 face-up life card on the bottom of your deck instead of adding it to your hand. But then you don't get to rearrange your life cards Because the way the cards work, that bit in bold before the colon is something you have to do. It is a cost of getting the rest of the card. So if you want to use Makino's skill to rearrange your life, you have to add a card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand. Now, Luffy says that your face-up life doesn't go to your hand, it goes to the bottom of your deck. So you can do that, but then you won't be able to activate the second skill on Makino because, of course, you haven't paid the cost. You haven't added a card to your hand from your life. That is extremely important. Like I say, this is pretty well established at this point. The bold stuff before the colon has to be done in order to trigger the rest of the card actually coming in. There we go. Now, sticking with Monkey D. Luffy for a while, this is a fairly complicated leader. What happens if you use Eliminate from OP06? That's got a couple of different things that you can do, but one of them is, if your opponent has 1 life, you deal 1 damage to your opponent, and then add the top card of your life to your hand. But of course, Luffy says you don't add life to the top of your hand, you put it to the bottom of your deck. So what happens here? Well, you deal 1 damage to your opponent, and then you place 1 life on the bottom of your deck. Are you seeing a trend with Luffy? A lot of these rulings are basically, but what about this card that says add a life to your hand? And the ruling is like, no, seriously, bottom of your deck. So, can I add 2 cards face up on the top of my life? So remember, with Luffy, you can add from your life or your trash. Can I add 1 from my hand and 1 from the trash? Yeah. It is 2 cost 5 characters from your life or your trash. It can be 2 from your hand, 2 from your trash, or 1 from each. Either is fine. Any of that works. Now, there is a new Edward Newgate in this set. On play, you add the top card of your deck to the top of your life. Then you look at your life, put 1 on top of your deck, and then you put the rest of your life back in any order. You basically stack the top card of your life and your deck. It's kind of nice. It's something I'm kind of a fan of. Well, when you put a face-up life into your life again, do you put that card face down? No. Face-up life, remain face-up. Face down, remain face down. So when you're rearranging life, whatever they were beforehand, that's what they are now. There we go. Job's a good un. If this places a face-up life on top of my deck, will that card be placed face down? Yes, because the deck is always face down. So if life is face up, it remains face up. But if cards on the deck are face up, i.e. you take a face up card from your life and put it on top of your deck after the rearranging, that does go face down. And again, we can just look for themes here, and the theme is really simple. Cards in your deck go face down. Cards in your life are allowed to be face up. That's okay. Cards in your deck go face down. That is just the way it goes. Now, Shanks is coming around in this set, and who doesn't love a bit of the old Shanks? On play, you can turn 1 face-up card face down, life card of course, and then if your opponent has 7 or more cards in their hand, put up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life into their trash. Hard to make work, but really good when it does. Can I use this to turn a face-up card in any position of my life face down? Yes, I can. Now, this kind of follows on from what we were just saying about Newgate. Cards that are in your life face up remain face up, even if you rearrange and they're no longer on the top of your life. So now that we've got a situation where you can have face up life cards anywhere in your life, not just on the top, we need to deal with that with things like Shanks, and the deal is very simple. You can always just, with cards like this, you can just turn any of your life cards face down, whether they're on the top or otherwise. You might be thinking, hang on a second, Wassy, this is much more important than a regular FAQ, and yes, it is. Because we're now playing around with face-up life quite a lot, it's introducing some awkward rules. If we use these cards in a tournament, these rulings are going to come up. I do hope we're all paying attention. Not to sound like the teacher I was for many, many years. Now, we've got a new ace coming along in this deck as well. To be fair, we've got the leader and the 5 cost, and we've got the 2 cost. We are specifically talking here about the 5 cost ace. Now, this is a one where if you've got 2 or less life, you get rush. So you can attack the turn you play. Well, if this card appears when you have 2 life, but then you gain a life, such that you then go up above 2, Can you still attack on that turn even though you've gone above? The answer is yes. We've seen this kind of thing before. Essentially, when you play it, if you've got 2 life, that activates Rush. Whatever happens after that is irrelevant. Rush has been activated. It doesn't say while you have 2 life, this character has Rush, in which case if you went up to 3 it would go away. It's on play. If you have 2 life at that moment, the character gains Rush. There we go. Now, I mentioned Makino earlier, just to remind you, this is the one that lets you put a card from the top or bottom of your life into your hand and then rearrange your life, put them back in any order. Well, it's a rule we've kind of seen before. What if some of those life are face up? That's fine. Face up life stays face up, face down life stays face down, even where you are rearranging the order of them. Now, Yamato is getting a new card. Adore the artwork on this one. And you've got Rush. And when you play this, look at your life, put 1 card on top of your deck, and then rearrange the rest of your life in any order. You already know what the ruling is. The ruling is, what if some of those life are face up? Yeah, it's fine. Face up life, stay face up. Face down life, stay face down. Even when you're rearranging, which of course, several of these cards can do, as we've already seen. We've then got Flame Dragon King, that is your event card, and it's got a counter, give your leader or one of your characters 4,000 power for the battle, and then look at all of your lives and rearrange them as you like. And as a trigger, you can add a card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, and then add a card from your hand to the top of your life. You already know what the deal is here. It's another card that's rearranging your life, so the ruling is, oh, what about face up life? They stay face up, we know that. There we go. And that's what you need to know. The Monkey D. Luffy ruling that trigger doesn't kick in is huge. The ruling about the fact that face-up life stay face-up even where they're rearranged and not on the top is huge. The fact that face-up life end up face-down if they go on top of the deck is also pretty big. These are things that you very much need to know. And now you do. So now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about all of these rulings. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.